They are trying to scare you. They want just white people here. They want Christian white people here in this country. So they lie to you over and over again. And all it really takes, like everybody that's here, you can all do this. If you're watching this, I know that you have the internet. Google it. Use Chat GBT. Use Grok. Use Perplexity. I don't care what it is. Just ask. Do illegal immigrants, are they a net positive or a net negative economically? And
illegal immigrants, are they a net negative or a net positive to the economy? Well, let's do that. Let's ask Grok, huh?
Legal process. And Republicans sat on their hands and refused to vote on a bill from James Langford so that Trump could win the presidency.
So that's such a stupid theory. They're still going with that even after Trump has come down on immigration. How can they still bring up that stupid talking point? This is what I mean. I'm getting worked up again by this guy. RTP talks, dirty lib. Oh yeah, totally dirty lib. How can they sit there and be like, well, they didn't vote on this bill. They're not about the border. They didn't vote on the bill, the immigration bill or whatever. Well, clearly Trump is about the border because he's securing it now. The border is secure now. It's been the least amount of illegal immigration as ever. So your whole bullshit about Trump doesn't really care about illegal immigration, that's all bullshit because he's showing he does. It's even shining more light on the fact that immigration bill wouldn't have done jack shit about the border. It was Joe Biden's clever way. Well, the Democrats' clever way, I should say, because I don't think Joe Biden thought of this on his own. But it was the Democrats' clever way to deal with the controversy because the government didn't allow Texas to secure the borders. I think they wanted them to take the barbed wire down and all this stuff, and it was causing a major conflict. So they're pretty much in a corner. Do they allow Texas to enforce their borders? Well, no, because they don't want them to enforce the borders. But if they don't allow Texas to enforce the borders, well, then people are going to get pissed off at them, which people were getting pissed off at them. So what did they do? Well, they're like, we're going to come up with a bullshit bill that doesn't actually really address the borders, at least not as of effective as we're making it out to be. And therefore, we could say, and then the Republicans are going to vote it down, which they did, because it was just a big bloated bill. And then the Democrats will be like, well, see, we tried. We wanted to secure it, but those Republicans didn't want to. The thing is, before, I could see how you got suckers to believe that whole thing. But now that Trump actually is enforcing the border without no fucking bill needed, how do you still go on with that lie?
It's really hard for me to accept this idea that Republicans actually want to fix immigration when they sat on their hands and refused to pass a bill that would have effectively shut down the border, closed the border for months at a time. At the time, we had 8,000 people coming across the border, and James Langford bill would have shut down the border because the 7-day rolling average would have been over 5,000. We would have shut that down. But almost everybody, if you look at illegal immigration during the Biden administration, that number actually was down. It was legal immigration, and it's fair to say that a lot of these people had asylum claims that will not be approved and that they didn't have a legitimate asylum claim.
That is such a stretch. That is.
Well, at least this guy Steven is calling him out because, yeah, this is all bullshit. How can you still push this lie that Trump didn't really care about the border when clearly he's securing the border? Huh? How are you still pushing that?
I mean, I'm saying probably 90%, probably 90% of them. But that's what's crazy about this. None of those people that came during the Biden administration are eligible for deportation under Trump's new strategy. Those people are here under an asylum process. If they haven't had their asylum claim heard, they're not being deported.
That is such a bizarre claim. I don't even know where to begin. The asylum process is a real thing that exists. When you go through the border, you go through these checkpoints, and then you get paired up with a case, a judge who's managing all these different cases. These catch and release cases, which were, they were 6,500 a day when we were looking at 2022 coming into this country. We are upwards of 4 million or something just in the past couple of years. These are not all legal. That's a really, really weird rhetorical trick to try to play. When
How's
people
that
are
not legal?
when
If they
people are
come claiming asylum, isn't
oh
that
my
legal?
God, claiming asylum. So just because, like,
That's the process,
no,
though, right?
just because you know that you can say the word asylum does not mean that you just walk across the border and shout it and it
Actually, it
becomes,
does.
and it, no, it does not. It just
I didn't shout it. I declared it.
does not
It
become
does.
true. And
It
so
does.
my
No, it does
question,
mean
no,
that.
my
It means you
question
can
for
claim
you,
asylum.
hold on. My question for you is, what is the limiting principle on this? Because I will like, I'll give you one where I will throw a bone. I said that earlier. Like Venezuela, like that's a good example of a country, political unrest is falling apart. If you oppose the regime, you'll be killed or detained or locked up. There's a pretty good case for a lot of people fleeing Venezuela and trying to get up to the United States as quick as possible to avoid that kind of persecution. But if you just sort of take that and go, wow, South America is a mess, the entire continent is overrun by political turmoil and drug cartels, then you're basically just saying that, oh, shit has gone south down below the border. They can all come up here. That is not how this has ever worked.
This-
It's not how it's
Exactly.
intended to work. I don't even think that's how you want it to work.
Stephen, if you come to this,
By the way, how old is this guy? Is this guy 50? Is this guy like 30 going on 50? He looks like one of those like old guys that are really like that are like miniature, so they look like young and old at the same time. Yes, good job, Benjamin. Yes, in the Michael Scott voice, I declare asylum. Glad you got that reference. But yeah, dude, what is up with this dude?
country and you walk across the border and you claim asylum, what are you entitled to?
Oh, you want me to respond on the spot? You are entitled to a case manager to actually look at your claim and determine whether or not there is a threat of meaningful violence to you upon your return home.
Right. And if that claim cannot be heard immediately, what happened? You can remain in the country until your claim is heard, right?
Yeah, so if there's millions coming in at the same time and they're all claiming asylum and they just wait here until their case is heard, that means they could stay here for what, years and years until their case is finally heard. Letting all those people in just makes the line longer and longer and longer. And so what, they just stay here? That's not how it works. And why would that incentivize anyone to come here legally if you could just do that? Come here, say, I declare asylum, and then you just get to chill here until your case is called. Like, why would anyone come here legally? These people are like frustrating. Like, they're infuriating. See, it all comes down to is this. In any other situation, are you allowed to just sneak in somewhere and be there legally? Are you just allowed to do that? I don't even think this guy right here would say, yeah, that's okay. Can I just break into this guy's house and be like, hey, but you don't understand, dude. I have economic hardship. Life at my house is really bad. You know, and then just stay there without his consent? That's not how it works. No other point is like, is there another single time where you could do that? Like, this breaks that principle. It's wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so almost everybody that came here during the Biden administration came here under the asylum process, which means that none of these people that you're talking about from the Biden administration, they're not being deported right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into workplaces, you're going into courts, you're going into communities.
Who cares?
None of the people right now that are being deported are asylum seekers that came during the Biden administration. My biggest contention, and I'm going to be honest, like, it's a little bit sad to hear this. My biggest contention is that Americans support Donald Trump's deportation. Well, it's you said about 60% that we want to deport people because they don't know what the fuck they're looking at. They have no clue. It's the same people.
Oh, so we hate that people come here illegally. We hate it. Again, this is not a new thing either. There have always been people against illegal immigration, even before Donald Trump. This is not a new phenomenon. It wasn't like all like Republicans and right wingers. We were like, people were for anyone just coming in here, like before Trump came along, and then Trump brainwashed us into thinking like, oh my God, this is wrong. Like, that's not what's going on here, buddy. We're not the brainwashed ones here. It's you.
that believed that in Springfield they were eating the cats and eating the dogs, and that wasn't true. Nobody knows what they're looking at because one party has decided to show up every single day and lie about what's going on at our southern.
So Trump didn't tell us that they're eating the dogs and eating the cats. Like, he didn't just come out here and decide to tell us this and we're like, oh shit, dude, really? No, people were sharing things online that Haitians were eating cats and dogs. The people were sharing this online. It all went viral. And then Trump saw that, and then Trump brought it up. It's not that Trump just makes it up and tells us, and we're like, oh shit, really? Duh, we're idiots. We're Democrats. No, it's that he saw it. He saw this stuff was being shared online, and he brought it to the mainstream.
Border. They lied about it the entire time. There was nothing Joe Biden could have done. Joe Biden could not unilaterally change the amnesty laws. The amnesty laws were written in a bipartisan manner in Langford's bill, so they would change it, and that would have stopped all the traffic at the border on that day. It would.
No, it wouldn't have, and you wouldn't have wanted it. You would not have wanted it. This is so weird. It's such a weird argument how he's saying, well, Biden would have done it and it would have stopped everything. Well, no, it wouldn't have, first of all. And second of all, you don't want it to stop. So even if that bill did magically stop everything, you would have been pissed off. You don't need a bill to shut down the border, and you would have been pissed off even if it did. This wasn't about shutting down the border. You're using this weird excuse that, like, well, that would have shut down the border. Like, if you're for shutting down the border, you're not for shutting down the border.
Stopped all the traffic at the border.
Would you
but
have
Republicans
liked
said
that?
we want Donald Trump to run.
Good question. Good question. I hope he answers it. Yeah. Would you have liked that?
On how broken our border is. So they allowed this just to continue to fester through Biden's entire presidency so they could run on fixing amnesty, and they still haven't done it. We're still not fixing
amnesty. Would you have
amnesty.
liked to see the traffic at the border stopped?
Sure.
Why?
Because it was too many people.
Oh, really? It was too many
overrun.
people? You said there was no situation at the border. You just said it was a lie that there was a humanitarian crisis at the border.
No.
What do you mean it's overrun?
Exactly.
No, I said
That's a good point. Yep. That's another thing too. He's saying that there was no crisis, but he's also saying, well, the bill would have stopped this crisis, and he's all over the place. He's a fucking moron.
lied about what was happening at the border. They said that these were illegal immigrants pouring across our border.
They were.
And that's not the case. These were almost exclusively legal immigrants pouring across our border.
No, it was not. That's a lie. I don't even have to look up the stats. I just know that's a lie. All legal immigrants were pouring across the border. I already could tell right off the bat that is bullshit.
And you said it was too much.
Yes, which is why we needed to which is why we have to change our amnesty laws, which can only be done through Congress. But Republicans sat on their hands to make sure Donald Trump won the election.
So what is he saying then? So he's saying a ton of legal immigrants were pouring across the border and that it was too much. And so the only way to stop it was from that bill, the border bill, which would have changed the amnesty laws. But I don't understand, because I'm confused. And I'm confused because it doesn't make any sense. He's full of shit.
Refused to do anything for 2 straight years so that Donald Trump could win an election and then still do nothing about amnesty. We still haven't fixed the problem.
No, I find this to be puzzling as a line of attack that you sort of want.
It is puzzling.
The Langford approach to have actually passed to stop the flow at the border. You say it's too many people, but you also sort of hand wave it away as if there is no problem.
No, I'm not doing that. No, there's a massive problem. I don't understand why you guys lie about it.
There's a massive problem of legal immigrants coming into this country. I'm glad that at least Steven here is calling that shit out, because later in this debate, like toward the end, I think he starts to concede a little too much. But early on, right here, I think what happens is this retard guy, I think his retardedness, I think it kind of rubs off on Steven. And so Steven kind of falls into, because this dude also uses emotional tactics. I think some of that might have rubbed off on Steven, which is why we got to be strong and not fall for their emotional crap, because that's what they use. They use emotional rhetoric to appeal to our emotions and appeal to our empathy. And that's how that's how these arguments are allowed, like these debates. That's why we're still having these debates, even though, again, the principle is, like, the question is, should people be allowed to stay where they don't belong? That's a simple question. No. And that's what these illegal immigrants are doing. They don't belong here. All right. We've always had immigration laws. Every other country has immigration laws. And only now do we have psychopaths like this guy right here trying to convince us that it's wrong, actually, to enforce our borders.
Understand why you don't tell the American people the truth. The truth is,
you're not talking to a Republican member of Congress. You're talking to a guy who lives here. So there is no you guys.
You don't seem to know this, Stephen. You don't seem to know that these people were amnesty seekers.
No,
so I'm curious where you got your information.
I do know that people come across and shout the word amnesty.
That's the law.
Look, you can manipulate the law in different ways.
So how do you change the law then?
Coming across the border and shouting amnesty because your countries have been run into the ground and poorly run is not something that you can just walk across the border, board a train, hide in someone's trunk, go below the floorboards of an 18-wheeler, come into the country, and then disappear.
Yeah, most of those things are things that weren't happening. These people were,
absolutely, they were happening. Dude, I read stories where people were snuck in cars, like they were actually like hiding in the seats, like inside the seats. Like, the thing is, these people are risking their lives coming here, and they're paying cartels to help smuggle them in here. It's human trafficking and stuff. And retards like this guy want to enable that shit. They don't care about Mexicans. They care about their cheap labor.
Literally watch the lines at Eagle Pass. There were lines, like hour-long lines. I have a friend who was down there golfing, taking video of the people on the other side of the wall waving at him, waiting in line. I'm telling, like, I just don't understand.
What? There is a literal line at the border. They're waving. Still,
and Stephen, how you recognize that our amnesty laws are broken, and this is what Republicans seem to want to do right now. They say the amnesty laws are broken. Those that know, or at least or learn that the amnesty laws are why we had all this immigration, and then they say we should do something about it. And that thing we should do about it is not to fix the law. We should just start deporting people. Why not fix the law?
What
Why
law?
not deport people who aren't supposed to be here?
Yeah,
they are, but that's not these people who came. Most of these people, again, Stephen, none of the people that you're talking about that came in during the Biden administration, almost none, are the people being deported now, because those people still have protected status because of amnesty.
In Mexico, like you don't have to do things the way that the Biden administration was doing it.
Mexico said no, they didn't want to do it anymore.
Maybe they don't get to say no. They're a weaker and lesser country than we are. We can tell them what they're going to do if you actually twist people's wrists.
Do you notice how already you have resorted to forcing other countries to do it your way because you don't?
Oh my goodness, this guy. So we can't force Mexico to take back their own citizens, but they could force us to take and keep their own citizens.
I don't want to admit that, like, you guys just don't know what's going on.
I mean, geopolitics is a real thing. You can make other countries do things that you want.
Yeah,
them to
so is legislation, and we could do that. But Republicans didn't want to do that because I think the reality is Republicans know that they don't have real things to run on, so they're going to run on fear. That's why you can't see a Republican go on a microphone without saying the words Lake and Riley. That's why they do. That's why they lied to you about eating the cats and eating the dogs. That's why the constant fear mongering. That's why Trump sent in the National Guard to California to fearmonger and said the whole city's on fire. These are riots. It was like a handful of incidents. That's why.
It's just so annoying when, there were, listen, again, I'll always denounce January 6th, every part of it. But these lefties will make it sound like they call it an insurrection. Like we were trying to take over the country or something. And they point to, well, there was violence here and there wasn't. Yes, there was violence on January 6th. But I could make that same argument that there is not a lot of violence, that there was not as much violence as they make it sound like, that there was a lot of people being given a tour pretty much of the Capitol. They were led into the building, walked around. There was photo ops. There was more. I could make an argument that there was more of that than actual violence. And even the violence that did occur there wasn't as serious than any of the violence of the BLM riots caused or the recent LA riots caused. But when it comes to the LA riots, like this guy's talking about, they will always say it was only a handful of incidents. It was fiery, but mostly peaceful. Oh, but January 6th, no, that was an insurrection. But throwing, rocks, like giant rocks and pieces of concrete at the cops, shedding, fires, burning cop cars, looting businesses, graffitiing businesses and the walls in the city. Well, those are only minor incidences. It was mostly peaceful. Freeways were shut down because people were protesting on the freeways. Oh, yeah. Mostly peaceful, though.
It's because instead of doing the right thing, instead of doing things the right way, this party, for whatever reason, has said,
we are doing it the right way. You're the one who wants to do it the wrong way. See, the thing is that these guys, I don't know why we still argue with these people. They're all full of shit, and it's all because of Trump Derangement Syndrome. It's only because Trump is doing it. That's why they don't like it. That's it.
We're not doing legislation anymore. We're not fixing laws anymore. We are going to hand over all the power to Donald Trump, and we are blindly going to follow what he does. And that has led to U.S. citizens being detained, U.S. citizens being arrested. That has caused 75% of the people in CCOT who are serving life sentences in El Salvador, their only crime was a misdemeanor of overstaying a visa or crossing the border. We've chosen cruelty rather than just use the laws and fix it.
Sending people back to their own country is cruel.
Well, I mean, if you're going to kind of keep going back to immigration reform and doing some sort of bill, I mean, I think that I'm in favor of that. Legislation is absolutely what this country needs, and then in the absence of legislation that addresses immigration, sets up a pathway. And when people say get in line for immigration, there is no line. You will wait 20 years to go through a legal process in this country, and it is a huge, huge problem, and it is a national embarrassment. But we are talking about deportations and whether or not they do more harm than good. And so I want to redirect the conversation back to the spirit of this country and what I think people are so angry about and what they are clearly reflecting their anger in their voting habits. I am deeply concerned, and someone in the chat was mocking the idea of the crumbling American institutions, but this is true, and you talked about it as well, Jay. The crumbling trust in American institutions, public trust is eroding, and a huge part of this has to do not only with immigration, but just a feeling that people are not being heard by their government. The immigration issue, people want addressed. People also want to know their neighbors. They want to know the people who live in their neighborhood. They want to feel connected to other Americans. I think this is a huge.
Sorry to interrupt, Steven here. The thing is that I just realized like how I said earlier about why should we listen to these liberals, because it's all about Orange Man and how Orange Man is bad. It's all from TDS. So he has a problem with the border being controlled, but yet he's pro the border bill from the Democrats. And wouldn't he been happy that the Republicans rejected it? If he thinks people should just be allowed to come in here, then shouldn't he be happy the Republicans rejected it? See, that's what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. He just likes it when the Democrats do it. That's why we say it. This is just all TDS. It's all just Orange Man bad. That's it. That's all it is. That's why I'm why do we talk to these people still? They're not serious people. They're deranged. They're fucked up. They're too brainwashed.
Huge problem. I'm actually legitimately terrified.
What does knowing your neighbors have to do with immigration?
It has a lot.
Are you saying that you can't know them if they're from another culture?
What I'm saying is that when you have neighbors living next door, crowded into a house, maybe 5, 6 contractor trucks who all live in the single family home next door, and what laugh?
I
as
mean,
if-
that's a
you laugh. You
bizarre.
la- no,
I live
you
next.
laugh.
There's illegal
You
immigrants
laugh
all
as if
around me.
that does. You laugh as if that doesn't happen.
You're acting like that's the norm. That's not.
Well, how do you know who are illegal? What do you mean? Because this dude right here also said there's illegal immigrants all around me. How do you know they're illegal? How do you know they're illegal?
Not the norm. I live in Arizona. That's not the norm.
It is absolutely the norm.
Where do you live?
I live in the DC area, so I live in.
Well, I can tell you in a border state. I can tell you unequivocally
that is not the norm. Which is, I find it puzzling to laugh.
Oh, well, listen here in Southern California, there's a lot of areas that have a lot of illegals there. Yeah, just saying that it is the norm for some people. Like there's a lot of areas that are pretty much like little Mexicos because they're all here and a lot of them are here illegally.
At it in Manassas, Virginia, it is absolutely the norm. Most of the single family homes in this borough that I live in, you can just kind of see which ones are occupied by 5, 6 contractor trucks. People who are not tied into the community. Why is that a problem? Let me finish my sentence. People who are not tied into the community, people who are living together, going to work, coming home. They're never contributing anything to the place that they live. They have simply bought up real estate that was intended for families who are going to do events together in their neighborhoods, families that are going to know each other, have cookouts, have kids who play together. But a lot of our real estate across this area is just being gobbled up by people who don't actually have any legal status in the country and don't contribute to the community.
But that is a real
problem.
If I played those exact words, or if I just wrote down those words and I put them on a piece of paper and I said, this guy's talking about segregation in the civil rights era, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's the exact same argument. I don't like these people.
Oh, the guy who was talking about the cheap crops and the cheap labor.
You're going to lecture me on your argument. Good rebuttal, Stephen. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Your argument is legitimately. Your argument
who's legitimately. Grow the corn?
Stephen, if you're going to be. Stephen, now who's interrupting? Your argument legitimately is there's a house that has 4 or 5 trucks in front of it and they don't hang out with us. And Americans don't want that. So let's get rid of them. How am I supposed to take that any other way than racist? What's a better?
Well, how are we supposed to take it when you're like, oh, who's going to clean our toilets and who's going to pick our craps? How are we supposed to take it? Again, Democrats for you. That's Democrats. Democrats have always been pieces of crap. I mean, literally the other day. Oh, and the other day on the stream, I was talking about people filibustering, like Cory Booker going on his 25-hour marathon speech. And I was like, oh, yeah, where I was reading it from on Grok, it was like, yeah, there's only been one other person that did that. And it was Strom Thurmond. I believe that was his name. Strom Thurmond, who was filibustering against the Civil Rights Act. Huh? And then I looked. I was like, oh, what party was Strom Thurmond from? Democrat. It's almost as if Democrats have always been pieces of shits. Always been pieces of shits. So now they've got from, well, we're going to defend slavery because who's going to pick our cotton, to now, well, we need a little immigration. We need the Mexicans here because who is going to pick our crops? Always been pieces of shits.
How's a different way I can take that?
A violation of zoning laws, for one.
No, it's like that's what we're worried about is fucking zoning laws.
It is what we're fucking worried about.
Why are we worried about zoning laws?
Because the zoning laws, particularly like in this area in Northern Virginia, and you'll probably find this in different places in Arizona and Texas, depending on whether or not the city council there is Democratic or Republican, will opt to not enforce the zoning laws for things like overcrowding and then the purchasing of residential family units and single family homes to be used as hybrid workspaces for, again, contractors. And a lot of the city council people in cities that do this, that basically throw their zoning codes out the window, they are doing it because these are Latino voters who they are counting on them to reelect them in the next cycle. No, it's not. This is
embarrassing.
No, that's not. Steven's right. They do that here in California. They do that crap too. They want to change like zoning laws to allow multi-family homes for like lower income housing and stuff like that. They do it here. So no, Steven's absolutely right.
No, no.
Imagine, I'm just
No, Jay,
imagining like today's
want
the
to
5th
have
of July.
you want to
Imagine
have
telling
these
our
like
founding
tired
fathers.
MSNBC
Imagine
conversations.
telling our founding fathers that 250 years from now, what we'd be arguing about is overcrowding in a house and fucking zoning laws, and that we were.
No, imagine telling our founding fathers that's going to be retards like you that actually want people here illegally.
Choosing to get rid of
Serious-
people out of this
serious
country
adult
who,
things,
but they
yeah.
have 5 work trucks, so all 5 of those people are working. Imagine telling our founding fathers that this working family needs to be removed because there's too many of them in one house, and that makes me feel icky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
This is honestly like it's pathetic. We want to run people out of this country because we don't like that there's too many cars on the side of our neighborhoods and that too many people live in one.
Well, having too many cars in the neighborhoods can be an issue if no one has anywhere to park. Like if the people that actually live there have nowhere to park because there's too many cars, people that don't belong there, yes, that can be an issue. You know, maybe RTP doesn't have to worry about shit like that, but there's a lot of areas that do have to worry about shit like that. And yeah, it may sound like a minor inconvenience, but no, it's kind of a pain in the ass. And again, it's not like it's just the parking alone. It's not like that's the only issue. No, there's a whole bunch of other issues. Do you think a bunch of people living in a home's gonna that's gonna be the best cared for house?
One house?
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the most elitist shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just,
Especially
that's your viewpoint.
no.
So listen, while I don't think Steven should spend too much time on this whole too many people living in a house thing, because I don't think that's the strongest argument. However, I do think it is a argument or an argument. Yeah, it is definitely an argument. And this dude is just waving it off like, oh, well, that's the worst of it. Like, who cares? Well, no, I don't think that's the worst of it. Like, I think Steven should go more into the actual harms and crimes that some of these people do cause. Again, the actual more dangerous things that these people go through, the cartels that they pay, the fact that they do lower wages. You know, yeah, I don't think the house thing is the strongest argument. But still, the fact that he's like arguing like that's not a big deal, it's like, well, you know, it is a concern. And it is definitely part of the whole issues with illegal immigration. It's part of the broader picture.
Viewpoint,
Especially
but for everybody out there that doesn't live in a nice neighborhood, for everybody out there, no matter what you look like, that has to rent a room because you can't afford a place of your own, for everybody out there that's had to move back in with their parents, for everybody out there who's had to move their parents back in with them, for everybody out there who's ever housed a friend who didn't have a place to live, or
the streamer has awakened.
Just know that if Steven was in that neighborhood, Steven would be going directly to the HOA and being like, these guys are making my street look bad, and I don't like that. It's fucking Karen over here.
And it has a lot to do with social trust and cohesion. People move to certain communities in this country expecting a certain thing. They do actually
Why don't you trust them?
They do join things like HOAs because
why don't you trust these people?
Because there is a social compact in their neighborhoods, and it is actually corrosive to the heart and
why
soul
don't you
of the
trust
country.
these people? What about having 5 work trucks?
Why can't you follow the rules of the Raging Tomato and shut up for 5
seconds? You've done the same thing. With all due respect, I'm asking you. It's a whole discussion. I just want to know why you don't trust these people.
Now,
I know you have
both
like
of you were having a lot of fun bantering backstage, and I think we all had a good time. But let's get to the crux of it. Steven, finish your thought, and then back to you, Jay.
Yeah, these things matter. You can kind of laugh and hand wave again, you know, things like zoning, things like overcrowding in American communities. I think you're sort of painting this very strange picture of me living in some fancy DC suburb. I actually live in a really shitty townhome community in Manassas where you're going to step on either a condom or a broken bottle on any time you walk your dog. But like, that's life here. And one of the things that's most striking to me is that on my right side, we have a Guatemalan family. On my left side, it's Venezuelans, and then one down, Mexicans, and then after that, Chinese, and then a Black family. And every single one of these families, the Venezuelans in particular, immigrated here recently. They are new to the country. They all have, you know, like legal status. They all bought their homes, and they are all Trump voters. And it's like, it's one of these weird things where they're like, we got here, and these people who are coming into this neighborhood are insane. They're overcrowding into homes. We don't know these like 20 guys who lived in the townhome next door to our daughters. I remember the Venezuelan woman next door to me. She came over.
Steven, with all due
No,
respect,
I am going to.
All right, before this RTP guy goes and interrupts on his long woke libtard rant here, I gotta say, like, I gotta bring up the point, like, if you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be, you don't really have much stake in where you're at. You know, if you're not officially recognized as being from there, then you have no obligation to take proper care of I guess of your location of where you're at, because you have no stake in there. This isn't your country. What do you care? It's like, imagine, like, it's like if you go, if you visit someone, like, you don't, like, you know, like most people, like, if they're respectful, it's like you're more likely to take better care of your own home than a visitor is. You know what I mean? And the thing is that if they're here illegally, they already don't respect our laws. Like, they don't already respect our way of life because they decided to sneak in here. They're only thinking about themselves. And if you're someone that just thinks about yourself, you're not really going to care too much about where you're at. And if anything, if you have more loyalty to the country where you came from, you're going to bring more of those cultural norms instead of respecting our cultural norms. Whereas if someone comes here legally, not only do they respect our laws, not only do they respect our culture, but they try to integrate themselves because they love our culture. They're here because they want to be here and they love our country. Where people that are here illegally, they don't. And we see that when they're out there burning down the cities and they're waving their home flag instead of an American flag.
I don't need to hear the stories of all your neighbors.
You're going to fucking listen to the story. You're going to fucking listen to the story.
Let me add in, it is fairly anecdotal, right?
No, this is important.
It is fairly anecdotal.
2 hours to do this shit.
But land the plane.
I'm going to land the plane. I just remember this Venezuelan woman coming over with her daughter and using her to translate and just going like, we didn't come here to have 20 guys from Guatemala packed into the house next door who we don't know and we don't trust. Like, these things actually matter to people who come here and immigrate to this country as well. And you just want to keep having these MSNBC conversations about immigration bills in Congress. And I'm trying to talk about brass tacks.
This is a brass tacks. Brass tacks.
Yeah, see, and so Venezuelans, even like the Venezuelans that came here legally, are saying the same thing. Like, we don't want these people that we don't trust next to us. So it's not just like a racism thing or something. Where was I going with this? I don't know. I guess it's just common sense stuff.
Is the legislation. You want to tell me more stories about your neighbor that we can't even verify, and how for some reason these Venezuelan immigrants are upset about these Guatemalan immigrants that have too many people in the house. We're supposed to talk about like is this helping or hurting? This is silly. Like, I gave you so many numbers in there. Economically, it's a net positive that we have illegal immigration here. It keeps Medicaid afloat. It keeps Medicare afloat. It keeps Social Security afloat. And getting rid of all these people will be a net loss to our economy. And you want to tell me more about your neighbor's feelings? The problem with America is we're too driven by feelings. That's what allows somebody from Venezuela to be like, I'm a Trump supporter. That's insane. The reason
that's insane. Why is it insane? Oh, but if there were like a Kamala Harris supporter, well, that's not insane. But them being a Trump supporter, that's insane.
People are here from Venezuela is because Donald Trump staged a coup in Venezuela to try and overthrow their president. And when that didn't work out, and he decided, like, we're not going to buy your oil anymore. And that was 80% of their economy. 80% of their economy is oil, and we buy 50% of that. We crashed their economy overnight, and it was so bad that on Trump's way out the door, he wrote a special executive order saying, due to our actions in Venezuela, these Venezuelan citizens
are we going to land the plane about a Venezuelan coup attempt?
The time that you spoke. And by the way, it's real policy. So to tell me, like, these Venezuelan immigrants who are only here because Donald Trump fucked up their...
This guy thinks his name's Gary. So many bad faith takes on Gary's end. Like, you're making arguments he's not even making. Truly a regarded debate contestant. Yeah, very good, Gavin Free Nunn. Good job.
Country is a good argument. I think that everybody that's here, that is here illegally, that's working, should be granted amnesty. And I gave you numbers and figures to back that up. And you're telling me stories that nobody can verify. And you're telling me I'm MSNBC. You sound like you're on a CNN panel. I'm talking about real legislation. Don't MSNBC me. I'm begging you to talk numbers, and you want to tell me more about what your neighbors think.
I guess there's no hug after this one.
I'll still hug him.
Oh, yeah, you would. I bet you would, huh? A little sus there. I'm going to get more toward the end here so you can see more what I'm talking about. And this guy especially, he has the nerve to be like, I'm not making emotional arguments. And he totally was. All right.
Less likely to commit crimes, specifically violent crimes. So if we want more safe,
so he's going with the whole the stand of, illegals, citizens are more likely to commit violent crimes than illegals. Again, I would love to look up per capita though, because yes, obviously majority of people here are legal citizens. So yeah, obviously we're going to be more likely to commit crimes than illegals because there's more legal citizens here than illegals. But how about per capita? How much per capita do illegal citizens, violent crimes do legal citizens do compared to actual Americans?
And prosperity, my recommendation is that we bring in more immigrants because they commit crimes at lower rates. Again, this is just like, it feels a lot like brown people bad. There's no data to support this.
Yeah, so they go to the whole, he also says that this is more of a racism thing. It's just that we just don't want those icky brown people here. I would have been like, well, get your racist shit out of here. Like, again, even if we were coming from a place of racism, we're not. But even if we were, that doesn't change the fact that if you're somewhere you're not supposed to be, you're not legally allowed to be there. That's it. Bottom line, that's it. But also, too, we could always flip it around on them with the racism. Like, they think, well, brown people, icky. Well, I could say, well, you think brown people should be picking our crops and cleaning our toilets.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I don't dispute that data point at all. It's factual. And I think when you
how's it going, James? Happy Sunday to you
go through
too.
the illegal versus legal immigration process in this country and rebuild trust that the legal process is credible and that the people who are going through the process have been vetted, that they belong here. I think you'll get to a point where people do understand this. I believe that in my own personal experience. People who come to this country, again, risking life and limb to be here, going through the process, they're hardworking, entrepreneurial. They try to stay as clean as possible. They don't have that American privilege that just taints so many people who have been here for the longest time that think they can just do whatever they want and never put anything back into the system. I think those people do contribute a lot. But the problem is that we don't have any sense of trust across our society that the person next door is actually one of those vetted individuals. We need to restore that somehow.
Yeah, someone, Wi-Fi here in the chat. I'm Mexican and don't want illegals here. Am I racist? Yeah, no, exactly. I'm of Mexican descent too. Like, I'm of Mexican descent, but I was born and raised here. And so I love this country. I'm all about this country. My parents were born and raised here too. Like, I'm Americanized and I have no allegiance to Mexico. Fuck Mexico. But I'm a Trump supporter and I don't want illegals here either. I don't want illegal Mexicans here. Get them out. But then they'll probably call me that I'm racist. I'm like, well, how am I racist? But that's their go-to. I think they're the real racists, honestly.
All right. Tard Wrangler, again with a big 20, says illegals are a net drain. They receive many, many benefits and they don't pay into the system because they are on government work programs. And they send a lot of this money back to their homes to pay off cartels' debts.
I mean, I think they send a lot of money back home. I don't know about cartel debts, but
I think this is a good example.
This is where I kind of like start to lose faith in Steven a little bit, because Steven's like, well, I don't know about cartel debts. Yeah, well, cartels make money off of smuggling people over here. People from Mexico, Mexicans, they pay cartels, and then the cartels help smuggle them over here. Okay, and then when they're over here, they have to send money back to pay off their debt to the cartels, because it's not cheap. The cartel, it's not, you know, $100. It's like thousands of dollars. So they have to come here, work for it, and then they send their money back to the cartels. So Steven obviously doesn't know much about that, but that's what happens.
Of people just following their feelings and repeating dumb shit Republicans say all the time. I've given these numbers like 15 times on this. So Wrangler, one more time, they are a net positive, $50 billion net positive. When you take the expenses that we spend on illegal immigrants and we take the money that they put into our economy, it is a net benefit. This is just what people say to dumb people to get them to vote for Republicans. Be scared of immigrants, please. And then they just lie to you about this shit, and you show up and you say this shit. But I appreciate you being here.
Fair enough, Jess.
We appreciate it too.
Yeah, and also, yeah, another good point here from Wi-Fi. Yes, you know, illegals also slow down the process for legal immigrants. And it's so discouraging because it's like, well, why would that encourage anyone to do it the right way if you could just get away with doing it the wrong way? You know, there was like a movie theater or something, and you found out most of the people that went there were just sneaking in and watching the movie, and they didn't really do much to crack down on it. Well, why would that incentivize you to go and pay for a ticket if you could just sneak in too and you know they're not going to do anything to you?
Jesterall with a big 10 says, when I was working in Germany illegally after 2 years, they caught me and deported me back to the U.S. Were they wrong to do that? I think it's a hypothetical, but
I don't care, but you got to shut the fuck up forever about illegal immigration because that was you. You're out there. You don't get an opinion on this. You're a lawbreaker. You shut the fuck up.
Oh, so it's funny when Jess Gerald is working in Germany illegally, and he got caught and deported after 2 years. Oh, well, the law, he needs to shut the fuck up. Oh, that's weird. So when we go sneak into another country, oh, that's bad. But if people sneak in our country, that's good.
I don't know what Germany's laws are. I don't have a problem with deporting people here. I just want to do the thing that seems the smartest. Maybe they didn't feel like you were a net benefit to their society, and they sent you back here.
No, yeah, obviously. Kick them out.
Gavin Freenon with a big 10 granting his argument out.
So immediately he showed himself to be a hypocrite. So when we sneak into another country, bad, but when people sneak in here, that's good. See, he doesn't give a shit about illegal immigration. For other laws, he could see why it's wrong. Like other countries, I mean, he could see why it's wrong. Oh, but when they sneak over here, oh, no. This is like the world safe space, America. Everyone's entitled to be here.
Argument about illegals bringing in money, companies actively pay them lower wages while legal Americans are suffering unemployment. This is actively an issue in Chicago where I work.
I think Americans are both suffering unemployment, but they are also rolling through unemployment voluntarily and living off the entitlement system just as much as some of the people that folks in this chat would accuse of using it as well. Folks in this country are dealing with a whole wealth of issues, including drug addiction and just over dependence on things like different parts of welfare. So yes, there is an unemployment issue. There are some jobs in which people get priced out of the market by imported labor working for pennies on the dollar. But, you know, I just kind of believe that if you're missing a job, you haven't looked hard enough and you need to get out there and make yourself useful.
Yeah. So again, I have to disagree with Steven here. Yes, I'm not saying that there aren't lazy Americans here or anything like that, or there's leeches, American citizens that are leeches on the system too. I mean, I was just talking about some earlier, but that doesn't mean though that we should just continue to exacerbate the problem by allowing illegals to come here and just work here illegally. That's why the companies love them, because they could pay them under the table. They don't have to pay taxes on payroll and stuff like that, because they could pay them under the table. These people are willing to work for cheaper, and that does skew with the wages, because now you are going to price people out of the job. You know, there's going to be Americans here that are going to be expected to pay a certain amount, but then if they're getting paid lower for like the job, well, it's like it is a problem. And I don't like that Steven just kind of glossed over and just said, well, if you can't find a job, that's on you. Like, yes, I get it. Yes, personal responsibility, but that just because, yes, you should take personal responsibility and try to find whatever job you could get, that still doesn't mean that this isn't a problem, and that doesn't add to the problem.
I'd give you a hug for that one, Stephen. This would be a hug moment.
Aww.
He
Either.
doesn't
I
even
love
want. Look at him. He
it.
doesn't even want it. Look, I covered this before, but you can go look at Brookings Institute. You can look at 11/6/727 House document ppic.org. The research shows that generally speaking, when it comes to wages, illegal immigration has positive wealth gains for American citizens, anywhere
Positive?
from 0.1 to 0.6%. It mostly has no effect, though. I mean, it's very, very marginal. But again, this is a thing that Republicans lie to you about to get you to be afraid of immigrants so they can deport immigrants because and it's crazy that this will get a bad response, but like all of you guys, a lot of people in this chat are listening to open white nationalists who have been warning us repeatedly about a replacement and that people were coming to replace you. People like Charlie Kirk, people like Nick Fuentes, people like Tim Pool, who repeat this day in and day out.
I like it. And then when they air the clips, like the news clips of people celebrating, like, oh, by 2045, the white population's only going to be down to this much. And they're like talking about it like in a good way and stuff. But then these people like this retard right here will be like, but it's not happening. It's just a conspiracy theory. This is just lies to get like the fear monger and blah, blah, blah. But then all these same people, all these same lefties, like when we go, hey, well, what about the birth rates? How come, what are we going to do about that? Just import people. And then they always promote like interracial marriages and stuff like that. But then they'll gaslight you and tell you, no, there's no such thing as a white replacement theory.
They are trying to scare you. They want just white people here. They want Christian white people here in this country. So they lie to you over and over again. And all it really takes, like everybody that's here, you can all do this. If you're watching this, I know that you have the internet. Google it. Use ChatGPT. Use Grok. Use Perplexity. I don't care what it is. Just ask. Do illegal immigrants are they a net positive or a net negative economically? And
illegal immigrants, are they a net negative or a net positive to the economy? Well, let's do that. Let's ask Rock, huh? Well, let's see. Let's try it. Let's see. The economic impact of illegal immigrants is a mixed bag. Oh, a mixed bag, huh? Wow. The way that guy was talking, Grok would have been like, I thought Grok would have been like, absolutely, it's a net positive. Economic impact of illegal immigrants is a mixed bag, and it depends on the lens you're using: local, national, or specific industries. Data from various studies and economic analysis paint a nuanced picture. Nuanced, huh? So let's see on the positive side. Illegal immigrants often fill low-wage, low-skill jobs that citizens are less likely to take. Things like agriculture, construction, or hospitality. A 2019 study from the Center of Immigration Studies estimated that 43% of agricultural workers and 27% of construction workers in the U.S. are undocumented. 43% of agricultural workers? This keeps costs down for businesses and consumers. This keeps costs down. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? They keeps costs down for businesses and consumers, boosting sectors like food production, i.e. cheaper produce, and housing. Oh, so it does make things cheaper because they're paid less. Wow. Consumer spending. They contribute to the economy by spending on goods and services. The Immigration Council estimated in 2019 that undocumented immigrants contribute about $79.7 billion annually to the U.S. economy, including $27 billion in taxes, sales, property, and some income taxes, huh? Property tax. They contribute to property tax. I want to press X to doubt on that, but all right. But some income taxes, that's crazy. I wonder why they don't all pay income taxes. Is it because they get paid under the table? Entrepreneurship. Some undocumented immigrants start businesses creating jobs. Oh, like the food trucks, the burrito trucks, and the burrito stands, and selling flowers on the side of the freeway, like those businesses. A 2017 report from the Center for American Progress noted that undocumented immigrants are twice as likely to be entrepreneurs compared to native-born citizens. Yeah, again, the illegal food trucks, the illegal taco stands, the illegal hot dog stands that you see. I'll give them that. Yeah, I guess they are more likely to do things like that. But then again, you kind of have to start your own business when you can't. You have to try to find a place, try to find something to do illegal. When you're here illegally, and it's harder for you to find a job because you're here illegally. On the negative side, in certain low-skill sectors, an influx of undocumented workers can depress wages for native workers. A study by economist George Borjas in 2016 suggested that a 10% increase in the immigrant share of the labor force can reduce wages for low-skill native workers by 3 to 4%. Public resources. Illegal immigrants use public services like schools and emergency health care, which can strain local budgets. The Federation for American Immigration Reform, 2017, estimated that illegal immigrants cost U.S. taxpayers $116 billion annually. Though this figure is contested for potentially inflating costs like education while ignoring tax contributions. Damn, $116 billion annually. Huh. Job competition. In some cases, they compete with low-skill native workers for jobs, potentially increasing unemployment in those groups through evidence, though evidence on this is mixed and depends on the region. Yeah, see, even if there's not a lot of people willing to take the jobs, like there's a lot of younger people that could take the job. So for instance, there could be like a lot of these, like for instance, like fast food wages, right? Like those are meant for like kids out of high school and stuff like that, like young adults, or even kids in high school. But what you do is you take away from like those people as well. Anyway, net effect. It's tough to pin down a universal positive or negative. The National Academies of Sciences 2017 found that immigrants, including undocumented ones, have a net positive fiscal impact. So wait a minute, they're including illegals and legal? Okay, well this study's skewed then. So the National Academy of Sciences found that immigrants, including undocumented ones, have a net positive fiscal impact over the long term. 75 years, especially second-generation immigrants who pay more in taxes than they consume in services. But short-term costs can hit specific communities harder, especially in areas with high concentration of undocumented immigrants. Local governments might feel a pinch, while national GDP often benefits. Oh, my GDP go up, huh? Not so erudite's probably excited to hear about that. Context matters. Industries like agriculture lean heavily on undocumented labor, while some native workers in similar sectors might feel squeezed. If you're looking at a specific region or industry, I can dig deeper. Want me to pull more data or focus on a particular end growth? No, you're good, Grok. Thank you. Nah, you're good, Grok. Thank you. Cool. Glad I could help. Hit me up if you need more info on this or anything else. So, wow. How would they be able to have a study on illegals if they don't know who's illegal? Yeah. Right? That's messed up that they include illegal with legal to try to make the numbers good. Yeah. We're trying to raise the wages for everyone. All they can think about are Whitey trying to get you. Yeah. Good to see a cat with a gun. W Sunday stream. Yeah. So they buy things and property taxes probably with dealings with the people who harbor them. Oh yeah, yep, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Like people like that are renting out to illegals or something. That's true. Because I was like, well, how are they going to pay the property taxes if they're not here legally? What's wrong with Christian America? Exactly. Plus, not all Christians are white. Exactly. This dude is a racist and a bigot. Yep. Yeah, that's another thing. Christians aren't just only white. They always associate that Christians are just white people, but no, that's not true. That's not true. But anyway, so I'm glad that, thanks to Grok, we were thoroughly able to debunk this guy's claim. It seems like there's a lot more negatives than positives. This guy thought that no one was going to Grok or Google it, but I just Grokked for you in real time his claim, and it debunked. Sounds like there was a lot more negatives than positives. Also, it sounds like they included documented, like it sounded like they included legal immigrants with illegal immigrants. So of course it's gonna eschew the study. One of the oldest denominations is in Ethiopia, an African country. Talking about Christianity. So let's see what else other bullshit this guy has to say, and then we'll wrap this up. But I just wanted to debunk that for you guys.
And you'll all get the same answer. And unfortunately,
what was that
where
answer?
that leaves a lot of you is you'll say, I don't trust the internet. I trust my
I trust
seven.
I think what Grok said was pretty accurate.
House document, ppic.org. The research shows that generally speaking, when it comes to wages, illegal immigration has positive wealth gains for American citizens, anywhere from 0.1 to 0.6%. It mostly has no effect, though. I mean, it's very, very marginal. But again, this is a thing that Republicans lie to you about to get you to be afraid of immigrants so they can deport immigrants because and it's crazy that this will get a bad response, but like all of you guys, a lot of people in this chat are listening to open white nationalists who have been warning us repeatedly about a replacement and that people were coming to replace you. People like Charlie Kirk, people like Nick Fuentes, people like Tim Pool, who repeat this day in and day out. They are trying to scare you. They want just white people here. They want Christian white people here in this country. So they lie to you over and over again. And all it really takes, like everybody that's here, you can all do this. If you're watching this, I know that you have the internet.
Do it.
Google it. Use Chat GBT. Use Grok. Use Perplexity. I don't care what it is. Just ask, do illegal immigrants, are they a net positive or a net negative economically? And you'll all get the same answer. And unfortunately, where that leaves a lot of you is you'll say, I don't trust the internet. I trust my feelings instead.
What's funny is, though, is if he sees this and he sees that we checked Grok in real time, he's probably going to be the one going, well, that's Grok. That's Grok. You mean the one that's owned by Elon Musk, the racist guy who promoted Trump, the bigot, huh? That's probably what he'll start to say. So it sounds like projection on his part.
Fair enough. Well, I've got 4 more, and then we'll bring on the panel and have some more fun. Tard Wrangler again with the Big Ten. Where was the due process when they came into my country and overstayed their visa? Fuck these people. Get them out of my country. A family deported together stays together. Jesus Lord.
I agree. No family, no family separation. Keep them together. Goodbye.
Yeah, due process happens once you're accused of a crime, not before you're accused of a crime, which is why Wrangler, when you ran into a stop sign with your car because
yeah, no, absolutely, Profeta. They freaking hate Christianity. That's why a lot of lefties are atheists. They're atheists, or they're the hippy dippy Jesus Christians that think they think that there's only the Bible only says one thing, and that's just love thy neighbor. That's it. That's it. So those are the only 2 types of people that these lefties are: atheists or hippy dippy Jesus Christians.
And figure out the brakes and the gas. You weren't charged with that before you did it. So it's a remarkably dumb question to say, like, why did they do due process before we charged them? The due process comes when you're charged with the crime. That's where the due process was.
Well, I mean, coming here illegally is a crime. So just by default, by definition, their presence here and them living here, they're committing a crime.
Okay. Gavin with the Big Ten says, do people really think only white people are concerned or experiencing this in their neighborhoods? Your party thinks dudes can give birth, but the right lies all the time.
Yeah, one of the biggest developments in the polling on support for immigration and deportations, of course, comes from shifts in the Black community over the past 15 to 20 years. This is something that Democrats really struggle to talk about. Is how the people in their coalition of the ascendant and different minority groups, they don't all like have a common cause like they thought they were. And there is actually a lot of infighting. There's a lot of resentment, particularly in big cities and blue states, about who is living on the system and who's getting the most attention from Democratic politicians. If you're a Black voter in Chicago, you're probably more accustomed to the city catering to some of your interests than you are to them catering to illegals who were just shipped in over the past 4 years. And this is actually like a real issue. This also breaks down into not being able to understand little things like that Guatemalans might hate Mexicans or El Salvadorians don't like the Venezuelans. There's just a lot of infighting between these groups, and there are major concerns between all of them about illegals packing into their neighborhood when they're from countries that they don't like. And again, this never gets talked about in the mainstream media at all when it regards immigration, but it's very real.
Yeah. Stephen just during that answer, Stephen did the same thing he did from the beginning. I don't know how many more times we have to correct this, and this is the problem with the right, is you guys just always fucking lie. There were not a bunch of illegals shipped in over the last 4 years. Stephen, once again, look in the camera. Asylum is a legal process, Stephen. Like, those are legal immigrants.
Same reaction right there. Like, that's exactly every time that dude opens his mouth. I same reaction.
Nobody believes what you're saying. You can just keep saying it over. There's just a lot of infighting between these groups, and there are major concerns between all of them about illegals packing into their neighborhood when they're from countries that they don't like. And again, this never gets talked about in the mainstream media at all when it regards immigration, but it's very real.
Yeah, Stephen just during that answer, Stephen did the same thing he did from the beginning. I don't know how many more times we have to correct this, and this is the problem with the right, is you guys just always fucking lie. There were not a bunch of illegals shipped in over the last
dude. Yeah, man, I feel him on that one. That's every time this guy opens his mouth, that's just what's going on in my head. Sometimes it comes out, you could see me on camera reacting the same way, where I'm just like, ugh.
This 4 years. Stephen, once again, look in the camera. Asylum is a legal process, Stephen. Those are legal immigrants, Stephen.
Nobody believes what you're saying. You can just keep saying it over and over again. They were asylum seekers.
Stephen, it was my turn. I didn't interrupt you.
Illegal.
I didn't interrupt you.
It is RCP's turn.
You have to use these lies, inflammatory language, and to answer your question, do I really think only white people are concerned or experiencing this in their neighborhoods? No. I'm wondering what the fuck you're experiencing, though, because what Stephen told me is somebody littered and they had too many cars. And what they told me in Springfield is they were eating the pets. And every time I ask you, what are you experiencing? It seems to be that there's more brown people.
Why don't you have a doorknob, RTP?
This is actually, these are sliding doors.
Definitely debates like First Amendment.
The whole, they're sliding doors.
Couldn't afford a doorknob.
And a last one, and
it's a joke. Just laugh. God damn it.
It's all right.
He spent more money on the mustache.
That's right.
One more, and then we'll open up the panel and hopefully have some fun. Thunderstorm with the Big Ten. I'm sorry. Worst Viking ever says, RTP, where was this passion and outrage when 300,000 brown children went missing under Biden Harris? Hope your pup gets well soon. Thank you.
The outrage when 300,000 brown people went missing under Biden and Harris, who also were missing under Trump, who also were missing under Obama. This is, again, a fundamental misunderstanding. Now, you don't give a fuck about these children at all because you want to deport them anyways. But if we want to clear this up, the 3,000 missing people, they were handed off, right? They were handed off to a caretaker. And what this 300,000 number is just people not checking in. They're just supposed to check in. And when they don't check in, they say that they're lost. There's no evidence that these people are missing. There's no evidence that these people are being harmed. It's really hard to keep track of people. And that's what that number was. So the outrage was we should fix our system. But where was your outrage during the Trump administration when almost that exact number occurred? Oh, you didn't know about it because they don't ever tell you the truth. They lie to you so that you can justify why you want to deport brown people. I said it.
Well, I mean, no, we could be consistent on that. We could be like, yeah, we're upset that all these children are lost or whatever. They can't be found no matter what administration. We could be just as outraged at that. The solution is let's not bring them over here. That's the solution, though. That's what we're proposing. So we could be logically consistent and be like, yeah, we're upset that these kids are lost. We're upset about that. Our solution, stop allowing them just to come over here illegally. Yeah. But you guys want them to keep coming over here illegally. So there is no outrage from you, because if you were outraged that children were getting lost, well, then that would mean that you might have to come to that same conclusion that, hey, maybe we should stop with the illegal immigration, huh? And you don't want that.
I'll say it again. Everything you guys believe about immigration is a fucking lie. Everything.
Projection.
I can't even get Steven to figure out the difference between legal and illegal immigration. After 2 hours, we're still calling legal immigrants illegal immigrants. Why?
They're all asylum seekers, everybody. Remember.
Yeah. They are asylum seekers. That doesn't
They shouted
mean granted asylum. Yeah, that's what they did, Steven. It's a legal process.
Okay. All
See,
right.
There are no illegal immigrants if they all just claim asylum. If they all just claim that they're coming here legally, then they're not illegal.
Let's go ahead. I've got a full panel sitting backstage, and I think I've got one for each of you back there. Actually, probably five for each of you to take on.
Orgy.
It's going to be fun. Steven, can you stick around a little longer?
Yeah, I can do a little.
You got this. I believe in you. I think it'll be more fun for you. Now that I understand your style of banter, I think it's going to be a blast. All right, let's go.
All right. Well, that was that debate. What did you guys think about that, huh? Yeah, a lot of it from Jay. His name's not Gary, it's Jay. Again, it's a lot of libtard, TDS rhetoric. What else do you expect? It's like, why do we still bother talking with these people? You know, Benjamin did make a good point, though. That's like when you're debating these people, it's not necessarily to try to convince them. It's so people that might be on the center or maybe didn't even know some things might be more swayed toward your point of view, like Steven's point of view or our point of view over here. But with that said, it doesn't mean that it's any less infuriating listening to these people talk, because it's and because it's like, again, my feeling is it's like the whole Rob North thing. It's like, why do we still talk to you people? Because it's like it's hard to take them seriously. It's like talking to a schizophrenic and trying to convince them that toasters aren't talking to you. It's just like, it's kind of a waste of time. And yes, at best, you're going to convince some people like, oh, toasters don't talk to people. Oh, crap. I mean, at best, but still, it's like, it's a full of nonsense. Like, the person you're arguing with is not coming from a unbiased state of mind. These people have been brainwashed by the media, because again, it's everywhere. Like, it was everywhere the past 10 years, this anti-Trump rhetoric. It wasn't just in the news. It wasn't just like on CNN. It was everywhere. It was in our movies. It was in our TV shows. Even when you go to a concert. I mean, I've been to some concerts where the artists in between songs would come out and be like, yeah, Orange Man bad, am I right? And everyone's like, and I have to sit there like, oh God, get to the next song, asshole. That's what I paid here to be or to hear. It's everywhere. It's all over social media. It was everywhere. And it was a lot of lies. Like, there are people still to this day, even though it's been debunked several times, who still believe in the both sides hoax, the good people on both sides hoax. There are still some people who believe that that's what was said. So these people have been lied to for so long by everybody, all forms of mainstream entertainment, that they are brainwashed and they have Trump Derangement Syndrome. Okay, so they're not speaking from a place where they really care about these issues. They're only speaking from a place of Orange Man bad. So there's no reasoning with these people. There's no reasoning with these people, and it's just, again, I guess I do see the value in debating them. It's just so like exhausting, exhausting. And yes, the best you could do is just hope that some people in the audience that are watching are going to take away from it some actual facts, some actual truth, because a lot of this dude's audience tuned into this, and hopefully at least some of them heard Steven's arguments and maybe walked away, not as libtarded as when they went in. So I guess that is true. What do you guys think about this, though? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you like watching content like this and if you enjoy my commentary. Also, check out the Raging Tomatoes channel and subscribe to her channel as well, because she hosts many great debates such as this one, as well as a lot more. Help her channel out by helping it grow. And I'll see you guys later. Take care.